Tonight is going to be a little bit of a different, little different program, rather than a standard Bhagavad Gita class or other philosophical classes or pastimes. This is kind of like we're friends, and you know, when your friend goes on a holiday, he comes back with a whole bunch of photographs or slides, and then he invites you over to his home, and he bores you to death with their vacation pictures. Well, folks, that's what's going to happen to you tonight. Hopefully you won't be bored, because the difference with most vacationers is they just go to some mundane place, but this is a trip to the holy dhams, some of the holy dhams. India, the value of India is that it is the place of spiritual wealth. Actually, Srila Prabhupada always maintained that, you know, the real wealth of India is its spiritual wealth, which it can give to the world. In fact, Lord Chaitanya said, who's ever taken birth in India, in Bharatvarsh, should spread the teachings of Lord Krishna to whomever they meet, because that's the real wealth of India. Prabhupada was always a little annoyed that India was trying to follow the West, because when India has the greatest gift to give to the world, and that's its spiritual culture. So there's unlimited places of pilgrimage in India. You know, it's like a lotus flower. You know, when the lotus starts to open, you see a few petals, and you're like, oh, there's a spiritual place, there's a petal, there's a spiritual place, there's a spiritual place. But as you advance in Krishna consciousness, or become more and more aware, it's like the lotus flower just keeps opening with more and more and more and more petals. The whole continent, or the whole Bharatvarsh of India is, you know, just a whole spiritual storehouse. So with that said, we're going to just go on our trip. We had a few devotees that went with us. We went together to the holy dhams, and I'm just going to, you know, try to talk in a casual manner. There's not going to be a lot of philosophy. There's not going to be a lot of pastimes. It's just explaining our trip and how we did, accompanied by a few photographs. So some of the photographs came from the devotees who were with us. Some of them came from some of my previous trips, because I personally didn't take a lot of photographs this time. Some of them came from my friend Vital Rukmini Prabhu, the ones in Vrindavan, and one or two interesting tidbits were pulled from the YouTube and internet. So without further ado, we'll commence with our short pilgrimage to the Holy Dham of India. So here's the orientation. Delhi, New Delhi is the capital of India. Usually we fly into Delhi. We went during the month of Kartik. Kartik is the most special month. It's the most potent spiritual month. And the most potent spiritual place is Vrindavan Dham. So as soon as we arrived in Delhi, we arranged ahead of time to have a taxi pick us up from the Delhi airport and take us to the holy place of Vrindavan. And one of our friends, congregational members, initiated devotees, Sanatan Rishi Prabhu, his family is in Vrindavan, and his brother runs a tourist company, a little plug for his tourist company, Giriraj Travels, and if you, we just give him a call and he arranged for a taxi to pick us up from the airport and drive us straight to Vrindavan. And of course, the first place you want to visit is the Krishna Balaram temple of Vrindavan that Srila Prabhupada himself built. These two buildings, one on the right, one on the left. On the right is the Samadhi, where Srila Prabhupada's body is entombed. It's interesting to note that there are many Samadhis all over Vrindavan of great personalities, such as the Goswamis, and particularly I like to use the Goswamis as an example. Krishna builds these temples, builds Samadhis. He actually builds them and uses his devotees. And when we compare the Samadhi of Srila Prabhupada to the Samadhi of the other great acharyas, the Samadhi is towering over all of them, so much so that it makes one wonder how great, how magnanimous is this personality of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who took the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, who took the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. So you get your orientation and your bearings at the Krishna Balaram temple. It's the second most popular temple in Vrindavan. Anybody want to guess what the first one is? Oh, we know you know, Guru, you know all the answers. Which one? Banki Bihari, yes. Banki Bihari.
We have one in the lobby.
We have one Banki Bihari temple?
We have one Banki Bihari in the lobby also.
Oh, okay.
Mataji.
Oh. She should come and listen to the lecture, to the presentation. So, now, in Vrindavan, there's parikrams, especially during the month of Kartik. Some of the parikrams, the leaders go out and they actually go around the whole Vraj area, which is quite austere, very purifying. And then different devotees have parikrams. Sometimes they go out for a couple of days. Sometimes they go back and forth. In fact, our Akrura Prabhu, we ran into him in a couple of places, and he was leading up a parikram, taking devotees around to different places. And we went with a devotee by the name of Dinabandhu Prabhu. He's a very senior Prabhupada disciple. He's been doing parikrams around Vrindavan for over 30 years. So the first time I met him was in 1987, and he was doing parikrams. Anyway, so what you do is you order a bus. The night before, you want to go, there's a whole list of all the different places they're going to go each day. This is a day trip, which is a little less austere, but austere enough that you're feeling some benefit. And a little, especially in the heat of Vrindavan, which was very hot this year because Kartik was earlier. So you put in your request, you pay for your ticket, and then they order the right number of buses, anywhere from 1 bus to 4. And then they go to the different places, and then you get off the bus and you do a little walking. Here's some devotees walking. Dinabandhu Prabhu leading the parikram, he's in the middle. And if you look to the right, you'll see in the right front coming forward, there's our Jai Sachi Sutta Prabhu, who's also part of that parikram. And you see all kinds of, especially in the rural areas of India, you see the simplicity of how life is. And you go to different places. This is Java, Kera, Kadamba. And they're all very special places. I'm not going to get into, like I said, a lot of the details of the different pastimes, but you can take a bath and take the holy water from these places, which is very purifying. Sometimes you take a boat. This is, we're returning by boats. There's a parikram group returning by boats, going back to Vrindavan from Manu Sarovar in Vrindavan on the Jamuna. One thing that was very noticeable is the level of the Jamuna was very low, which is unfortunate. There's water control, I think, before or after Delhi that directs the water and to different parts of the continent coming from the Himalayas. So the Vrindavan and the Jamuna is not getting a lot of water these days. There's actually a big petition to bring the Jamuna back to Vrindavan. So what you do is you generally go to the places where Krishna had all these amazing pastimes, and you sit and you listen to an expert devotee talk about the pastimes. And to be in the actual place where the pastimes of Krishna actually took place is quite an experience. It's very uplifting. Actually, it's said in the Bhagavatam that if someone goes to a holy place merely to take a bath, without inquiring from saintly persons who reside there about spiritual life or the pastimes of Krishna, then it is said that his mentality is no better than an ass or a cow. In other words, he's not very intelligent. We don't go just to take a bath, but you go actually to hear the subject matter, we get purified through hearing. So this is a place where, this is said to be the tree what Krishna climbed upon, the Kadamba tree that he climbed upon and stole the gopis' garments. This is called Venu Koop. It's a very special well. Krishna made this well with his own flute. After killing one calf demon, the gopis accused him of committing a very sinful activity and that he would have to atone for his sinful activity. So he took his flute and made a well, and then he called all the sacred rivers. So in this well, there are all the sacred rivers. Not only that, but it's also known, and there's been testimony from devotees who've actually done this. If a woman is having difficulty, perhaps conceiving, On a certain day, it might be the full moon, it might be a Ekadasi, I don't know the details. You go there and you take some of the water and drink it, then you'll actually become fertile and have a child. One devotee, a woman tried that. She was having the hardest time, and the next thing she knows, she had twins, two at once. So it was very, very interesting place, to say the least. You go through the villages. The villagers are so kind that Dinabandhu just goes and says, roti, roti. And the different villagers come from their house. They always have rotis, chapatis, and they come out and just give them freely. So you can see he's got a big stack of chapatis. Goes by one place, says, roti. And then, one of the children will come out with some rotis for everybody. And it's, it's just a sense of duty. And it's so nice to see that. Try doing that in Vancouver. Go past somebody's house and say, give me a chapati. Of course, if you go past an Indian person's home, they'll probably run out with a chapati for you. Kusum Sarovar, this is a very special place. It's curious, when we arrived there, this particular day, there was nobody there. Krishna had many pastimes in this area. One of the pastimes he had was a wrestling match. He was wrestling with the cowherd boys, and then he called for more challengers. And the first challenger that came up was Srimati Radharani, and Krishna and Radharani had a wrestling match at this place. We went back another day, and the place looked a little more decorated, and that was very curious. You can see the kind of like the curtains, the drapes there. And it looked like all the people were kind of like in a special formation, and what was going on, Vrindavan and Kusum Sarovar had been infiltrated by Bollywood. There was a Bollywood movie going on that day, so we couldn't take a bath. We went on a Govardhan Parikram around Govardhan Hill. Now this year was a very special year because this is the 40th anniversary when Srila Prabhupada had disappeared, passed away. One of his last requests before he passed away in 1977, November, was he wanted to go on Parikram around Govardhan Hill. But that never happened. His body was just too frail. So being a special year, this year, 2017, 1977, 40 years, the devotees took Prabhupada on Parikram around Govardhan Hill. And we joined it. Initially led by His Holiness Lokanath Goswami, who was giving an introductory speech before the Parikram began. Of course, there's other places that are of great importance, such as Radhakund and Shyamakund. Topmost place in the universe is Radhakund. Vaikuntha is where the spiritual planets are, but better than Vaikuntha is Mathura, because Krishna appeared in Mathura. But better than Mathura is Vrindavan, because Krishna had his pastimes there. And better than Vrindavan was Govardhan, because, why is Govardhan better than Vrindavan? He lifted it. Krishna lifted Govardhan. And the topmost place is situated on Govardhan Hill is the ambrosial liquid form of Radharani in the form of Radhakund. Of course, when you go to Vrindavan, there's a place called Loy Bazaar. That's where you get all your paraphernalia for your deities and your dhotis, your kurtas, your silver for your altar and all kinds of deity paraphernalia. You get that in Loy Bazaar, so every couple of days you end up going to Loy Bazaar to go and order something and then go pick it up a few days later. Every year, the day before Prabhupada's disappearance, the devotees go on parikram around Vrindavan, just around Vrindavan, to the seven major temples of Vrindavan. Here's some devotees going around Vrindavan. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj and His Holiness Janardhan Maharaj, Bhakti Anugrah Janardhan Maharaj. So that's what you do in Vrindavan generally, is you just go to the different places, go on pilgrimage on a regular basis, go to Vrindavan, go to Loy Bazaar, get some paraphernalia. And then if you're lucky, you might take a boat ride in the evening on the Jamuna. We had the privilege. There's one boatman, his name is Jamuna, and he has a boat on the Jamuna River. And we have a friend in Vrindavan who arranged for us to go on this boat. And the boat is loaded, as you can see, with little candles. And his crew member lit all the candles, and we would just put them into the Jamuna and watch them float down the river, making offerings to the holy Jamuna. This was pretty much our last evening. We did this the last evening in Vrindavan. So from Vrindavan, we decided to go to Rishikesh, Haridwar and Rishikesh. Rishikesh is special. On the way to Rishikesh, we just stopped for a couple of hours on the way to Haridwar, and there's a place called Har Ki Puri. It's a very, very special place. Why is it so special? Dronacharya, he took his birth here from the Mahabharata. Dronacharya. Narada Muni, he performed austerities here. Lord Kapila recited Bhagavatam here. And Arjuna, he entered the waters here. Advaita Acharya, before he summoned Lord Chaitanya to come, he went there and performed austerities there. Ajamil, when he left this mortal world, the flower airplane descended at Haridwar. It's a very, very special place. So, especially here, Har Ki Puri. There's no tirtha. Sometimes Haridwar is known as Gangadwar. There is no tirtha equal to Gangadwar, no mountain equal to Kailash, and no lord equal to Vasudev, and no river equal to Ganga. He who takes his holy dip at Gangadwar does not take birth again. So there's Jai Sachi Sutta and some big white guy there floating in the water. The water sometimes is very quick, so they have chains, and you hold on to the chains so you don't get washed away. Also, our Sri Lata Mataji, she performed some special oblations and offerings. One of our congregational members and her relatives was very ill, so on their behalf, she performed some special worship and some special puja. So from Rishikesh, we wanted to go a little farther up into the Himalayas. So we went to a place called, we're still in Rishikesh. This is the view from the balcony where Julie and I always get their names mixed up. Manoharini was staying up here, and Gord. They were staying on this balcony, and this is the view they have. This is the view they have, and right at the bottom of our hotel, you could just walk over and make your own offering. Eating is generally not a problem in India, but in other places where we don't have significant presence, we have to eat in local restaurants. But most of them, especially in Rishikesh and Haridwar, it's actually illegal to have any meat, and it's also illegal to have any alcohol. I only wish it would be illegal to have onions and garlic. If they could just ban that, then everything would be almost perfect. So when you're at Rishikesh, you want to cross the river or go on the river in a boat, and there's a good reason for that. Srila Prabhupada also went on the boat.
So everything was very wonderful in Rishikesh, and Prabhupada was very restful, and we were having a wonderful time. And then all of a sudden one day there was this huge storm, and it looked so ominous, and it was not only heavy rain, but there was a storm, and the storm made some electric poles topple over in some place, and the electric supply got disrupted, and it became very cold also, cold, rainy, and wind, and it was very kind of eerie, like ominous. And those days I used to attend Srila Prabhupada from 12 to 2, and it was around 1 o'clock, Prabhupada just called me, and he told me that the time has come
take note of that vehicle, and that's Prabhupada's car, and that car is still available, still there in Mayapur. It's on display. And I don't know if you noticed, Tamal Krishna on the boat was holding a suitcase, saffron suitcase. I don't know if you noticed that, but that saffron suitcase is also in the Vrindavan Museum. There's a nice museum in Vrindavan at the Krishna Balaram temple with all kinds of Prabhupada's paraphernalia and photographs and such. So speaking of car, we decided we'd go to a place called Dev Prayag. It's farther up the Ganga. And it's a few hours drive. There's two roads, one on each side of the Ganga. And if you're going, the quicker road is the one that's on that would be on the west side river. And this picture, it's quite a hairy ride in places. This picture is actually taken from the car just by the edge of the road. And the road goes very close to the edge, and it's a sheer drop. So it helps you to be Krishna conscious the whole way. Not quite as intense as going to Nepal, going up into the Himalayas to places like Muktinath or Badrinath, but still pretty intense. So this is Dev Prayag. It's called the Timeless Village. In the 80s, there was a video made by one devotee called Timeless Village, and it was all about this Dev Prayag. In the center of the town, you'll see the spiral of the temple. It's a very special temple. It's a very ancient temple. At least the deity is very ancient. It's over 2,000 years old, deity of Lord Ram. So you come on the west side of the river, you cross over, and you cross what we call the Cow Bridge. And this is what the village looks like with all these narrow roads. It's not like the other places. You don't see any auto rickshaws or vehicles. It's mostly just foot traffic. And then the first place you go to Dev Prayag, where there's two rivers that meet. There's one on the right and one on the left. And the one on the right is called the Bhagirath, and the one on the left is called the Alakananda. And some say that this is actually where the Ganga becomes the Ganga. Of course, others say that it actually becomes the Ganga at the confluence of at the beginning of the Bhagirathi at Gangotri. But nonetheless, it's a very special place. And so we took bath there, and there's a few of our team that were on the Bhagirath side of the river. And the current is very strong, so you have to hold on tight to this chain. You have a chain there. Actually, generally the river's up higher, and you just sit on those stones and you're in the water. But this was a level, so. Lord Ram, one of the places that makes it so important, and one of the reasons that there's a deity of Raghunath, the lord of the Raghu dynasty, which is Lord Ram, is because after the battle with Ravan, killing Ravan, Lord Ram and Lakshman, they went to Dev Prayag and took bath there. Dev Prayag is considered, there's 5 different Prayags. One is where the Kumbh Mela takes place at Ahmedabad. Is that the name of it? Ahmedabad? Allahabad, thank you. Yeah, Allahabad. Prabhupada's pharmacy, Allahabad pharmacy. Prayag pharmacy. Anyway, there's 5 Prayags, and where the Kumbh Mela takes place at Allahabad, that's considered the foremost, and the second one is this Dev Prayag, very special place. And then after you take bath, you climb these steep steps. It's the only way there, and you climb up the steps and you go to the temple and take darshan. So from Rishikesh, we went from Rishikesh, from Dev Prayag back to Rishikesh, and then from Rishikesh we took a taxi, not all the way to Vrindavan, but to New Delhi, and we started our journey to Sriram Mayapur. Actually, if you see the red dots, those are the places we went on this trip. So first we took the Rajdhani to Calcutta. The Rajdhani is, it's an express train. It's probably the best train to take. In my humble opinion, if you're going to travel in India, you have to take a train at least once, a fair distance. You can fly everywhere, and actually flying is becoming not so expensive, and the train, interesting enough, each time we go it becomes more and more expensive, although it's still cheaper than the plane. And if you're going to go by train, ideally AC2, air-conditioned 2, that's the ticket, that's the way to go. You have enough room that you can spread out. It's not too crowded, it's comfortable. They supply you with your vegetarian meals, they give you nice blankets and everything. And as you see, we're sitting on the lower. Usually it's placed for 2 on each side. And then above the heads, there's a platform, and that's the upper bunk, so you take rest on each one at night. That's very pleasant, actually. And then you get to the Howrah, sometimes I like to say the horror train station. There's a lot of crime there. You have to be a little on guard. A lot of pickpockets and such. The Howrah train station, it's the largest in India. The Indian network of trains is one of the largest in the world. And the passengers that go through, the number of trains that go through the Howrah train station is almost 700 a day. So you can just imagine how busy that train station is. There's 23 platforms. And, but traffic-wise or passenger-wise, it's not the largest in the world. And the largest in the world, the top 3. Anybody want to guess where the top 3 are?
Tokyo?
Very good, yes, Tokyo. Tokyo alone has the 3 largest or most busiest train stations. All 3 in Tokyo. And of 51, the top 51 train stations, a little bit of trivia, top 51 train stations in the world, busiest train stations in the world, only 6 are outside of Japan. So from Calcutta, we made a pre-arrangement, picked up a taxi. It's good when you travel with a group because you can take a bigger taxi and it'll cost you less because you divide the fare proportionately. So we end up going to Sridham Mayapur. This is the Radha Chandrodya Mandir in Sridham Mayapur. And one of the very special things that's happening in Sridham Mayapur right now is the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. And that's how it looked, I guess, almost 2 months ago now, we were there. It's prophesied that there will be one astounding temple that will appear from which Lord Gaura Sundar's eternal service will be spread all over the world. And this was a prophecy by Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And there was a vision also by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He had his place across the river from Sridham Mayapur, and he looked out, he stood on his balcony, he looked out, and he had this vision of this huge this whole huge city of Vaishnavas from all over the world, international Vaishnavas from all over the world. Like many construction sites, even with good security, often a lot of paraphernalia, materials, they actually seem to just get misplaced or, put it more bluntly, stolen. And they were having a problem in Sridham Mayapur with that. So what they did, they take you on a tour. This is how we saw this. What they did was they had this bas relief of Lord Nrsingadev, and they put it there on one of the pillars inside the construction zone. You can see it's still a little rough on the pillar behind. The bricks are still showing. And you see Lord Nrsingadev's right hand. He's holding the heart of Hiranyakashipu. His guts are showing. Prahlad is there. Interesting enough, since they installed this particular deity of Lord Nrsingadev, not even one nail has gone missing. It's like nobody's been taking anything ever since. Of course, it's also famous for Srila Prabhupada's samadhi, Pushpa Samadhi, lit up at night. This is the appearance place of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of our predecessor acharyas, he established the first temple there in 1906, which was a small building, but he was the one that actually rediscovered the birth site of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then a few years later, his son, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, built this temple and was installed the deities in 1935. This is the neem tree. This is the neem tree. And let's say a relative of the original neem tree where the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, appeared under 537 years ago. And that's the actual spot where he appeared. It's known as the Yoga Pit, Lord Chaitanya's appearance place. I remember the first time I went to Mayapur, 1987, and the Bhakti Marg Swami was there, and a group of devotees were walking out the front gate of the Mayapur compound, and he said, Jaya Govinda, we're going to the Yoga Pit, you want to come along? And I said, sure. And I'm wondering, what's the Yoga Pit? I was thinking it's a big pit and people were practicing yoga in it. But it's actually the appearance place of Lord Chaitanya.
It's not yoga pit, it's yoga feet.
I know, but when a Westerner says it and a Westerner hears it, it sounds like yoga pit. So here we are all together taking darshan of the tree of Lord Chaitanya's appearance place. Mayapur is in a place called Navadvip. Okay, so Navadvip, 9 islands, means lots of water, and there's a lot of water taxis or water buses, and you take these boats across the river. So we went across the river a couple of times. We went to Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajan Kutir, where he resided, where he had those visions. And you take the bus, and then, the bus boat, the boat's butt, whatever you want to call it. Get off the boat, and then you get on local train, local bus rather, actual bus. And these are 2 elephants. Before we used to have Gulab Kali, who passed away. She passed away, and there's a very nice. You see this lady. She takes care of her name's Srimati, and she takes care of these elephants. And because we're there. The reason she's standing like that, the elephants are actually protecting her because they were a little timid because of, people that elephant didn't recognize. Mayapur is recognized, speaking of being recognized, Mayapur is being recognized as having the best elephant sanctuary in India. And this is by someone who's involved with the animal care organization, and they have very, very good care. Lots of space, lots of food. They're not kept in small, contained areas. Elephants need a lot of space. So then from Mayapur, we went to the train station in Calcutta, got on another train, and we went to Jagannath Puri. Of course, Jagannath Puri is famous for the Jagannath Temple and the beautiful ocean. This is Main Road. It's called Grand Road. And Grand Road is very, very wide, as you can see, and it's very crowded. There are 2 devotees in this picture. You can see the back of their heads. You might recognize them as your friends. Anybody?
Jai Sachi.
Yeah, Jai Sachi Sutta is there.
And Dwarka Mataji with that.
Yes. Yes. Jagannath Puri is the place of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and there are a lot of wonderful places there. This is known as the Tota Gopinath Temple. Tota Gopinath Temple was discovered by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar indirectly. Tota means garden. Gopinath, of course, is a name meaning the Lord of the Gopis, the name of Krishna. So one day Lord Chaitanya was with Gadadhar, and he said, Gadadhar, dig here. So Lord Chaitanya said, dig here, I'll dig here. He dug there, and this beautiful 7-foot tall deity of Gopinath was buried there. So Gadadhar would take care of this deity very, very nicely for many decades. He took what was known as Kshetra Sannyas. Kshetra Sannyas means taking the renounced order and staying in one place. So we would stay in this Jagannath Puri and take care of this Gopinath deity. And then as old age started to creep up more and more on Gadadhar, he decided he's going to have his disciples take over the care of the Gopinath deity. So that night, Gopinath came to him in a dream and says, I do not want anybody but you to take care of me. And then there was a little debate that went on in the dream. Sometimes the deity, spiritual master, they appear in the form of a dream, in the pretense of a dream. And these should not be taken lightly, but they're actually a transcendental experience. Srila Prabhupada pointed this out in the early days, 1966, when he took the devotees upstate New York to a yoga retreat. And the devotees were sleeping there, and one of the devotees had a dream of Prabhupada. And then he came and told Prabhupada about the dream, and Prabhupada told him, yeah, when one dreams about the spiritual master or about Krishna, it's not taken as, it's a transcendental experience. So anyway, Tota Gopinath, the deity, and Gadadhar, they had this little debate, and Gadadhar said, I can't do it, and Gopinath said, you must do it. And Gopinath won the debate. Gadadhar was feeling a little apprehensive. He's thinking, how am I going to take care? It's so hard, I can't reach up to put the garland on the tall deity. So he came the next morning, he opened the curtain, and Gopinath was sitting down. It's practically the only deity where the deity is actually sitting down, and this is in this temple here. This is a temple going down to for Lord Shiva. We weren't allowed to go there, but Manoharini ventured to go there. I don't remember the result, but you got kicked out. Okay. This is called the Siddha Bakul. Siddha means perfection. Bakul is a tree, type of tree. So this tree was planted by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was not allowed in the Jagannath temple. Actually, if anybody is not able to go into the Jagannath, they have a strict policy that only Hindus are allowed into the temple. So I'm not allowed. Anybody that's Western-bodied, well, white skin, I should say, they're not allowed in the temple. But we should not be offended or take offense because we're in good company. Namacharya Haridas Thakur did not go in the temple, neither did Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis, the greatest acharyas. They did not go, they did not even dare to go into the temple, even though they were originally born Brahmin, high Brahmin caste, they wouldn't go into the Jagannath temple. So we're in good company. Anyway, so Haridas Thakur, he would just sit close and he would chant and look at the chakra on top of the temple and chant it around. So one day Lord Chaitanya came, every day Lord Chaitanya would visit him. Haridas Thakur didn't have to go to the temple because Lord Jagannath in the form of Lord Chaitanya came and visited him every day. And he brought Lord Jagannath in the form of Jagannath Prasadam to him every day. So then one day, Lord Chaitanya took a toothpick that was on Lord Jagannath's tray, it happened to be a bakul twig, and he put it in the ground. And instantaneously, this beautiful bakul tree grew and gave shade to Haridas Thakur for him chanting his bhajan, because he's chanting 300,000 names every day. He didn't really have time to go and buy a tree and plant it. He was just, focused on his bhajan. Then many, I guess you could say, a few centuries later, they came to make a Jagannath cart. They were looking for wood to make Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra carts. Every year they make new carts. So they selected this tree to be cut, and the devotees protested, no, this is a special tree. Lord Chaitanya planted the twig, it grew instantaneously, it's a very special tree. You can't do that. So the next day when they came to cut the tree, thinking it's a good tree, somehow or other it was hollow inside, just overnight. And to this day, this tree is hollow. You look, it's hollow. You look, there's knots. You put your hand in, you can reach your hand in, there's knots. But nonetheless, the tree is still growing. So there's other pastimes about this tree also. This is in the Shringadev temple. Before the temple of Jagannath, Lord Jagannath was built, King Indrajumna Maharaj, who appeared many, many millenniums ago, he had big sacrifices. And from one of the sacrifices, Lord Nrsingadev appeared. And Lord Nrsingadev is in this temple. This is the place where Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house was. You can see the Jagannath temple in the background. It wasn't very far from Lord Chaitanya's, from Jagannath's temple. In fact, there is a secret passage you can actually see the secret passage goes from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house to the Jagannath temple. And this is the place, and this is the room, where Lord Chaitanya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they had the 7-day debate. And you'll see just on the wall to the left there, you'll see the Sadbhuj form, the 6-armed form of Lord Chaitanya, who manifested in front of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. There's a typical side street going towards the temple. This is the steps going up to the Kund. What's the time? Oh my goodness. Indrajumna Lake. And then from Jagannath Puri, we took a taxi, early morning taxi. We drove to Bhubaneswar, which is the capital of Orissa. There they have an international airport. Airports look pretty much the same everywhere you go. And then we got on a plane from Bhubaneswar and flew back to Delhi. And then we quickly went to Vrindavan, picked up all the paraphernalia we had ordered for the deities and such. And then we went back to Delhi, got on a plane and came home. And waited. So we came back, and then it took us, it seems the older you get, the harder it is to climatize after you've been to India with the change of time, because what's day there is night here and vice versa. Everybody familiar with Limca from India? Yeah. This is special Limca. See how clear that is? It's not Limca. This is Ganga water from way up in the Himalayas at Dev Prayag. That's why it's so clear. You could probably drink it. I've taken a few drops. I don't necessarily recommend you do that now, but
Sprinkle on the head.
definitely you can sprinkle some on the head. And we're going to ask...
I'll bring that elephant one. Not this goes too much of water in this.
Oh, really?
I'll get the other one.
Okay, we can start with this one.
Yeah.
We can start with this one. Who would like the honors? Janaki Jivan? This is Ganga water from Dev Prayag, so it's very special. And if you want to take a little in your hand and sip some, I don't necessarily advise it, and we're not responsible for any reaction, such as immediate love of Godhead. Thank you very much.